We just, this is the Environmental Management Committee meeting. I'll just read the opening information. For this meeting, seek knowledge, understanding, have a purpose in all that you do. Stand tall, be strong, let us show respect. Any apologies?
Colin.
Colin. Moving in a second, the apologies were received. Yeah. All in favour? Right. Any declarations of interest? None. Thank you. Anything in the public forum? Thank you. No late items. Just to remind you that late items can be brought to the committee if they are urgent, and the committee resolves to deal with them in the relevant section of the meeting. The chair must be provided with the following information to the committee: the name of the report, the reason for the item not on the agenda, and the reason why discussion at this meeting cannot be delayed until a subsequent meeting. Minor items relating to general business for the meeting may also be accepted by a resolution of the committee. However, no decisions can be made other than the team for a future meeting before the discussion. Yeah, okay. Right. We're looking at the confirmation of the EMC minutes of 7th of April. I need a move in a second to recommend that the committee resolves to confirm those minutes at the Environmental Management Committee meeting held on 7th of April 2026, and that they are true and accurate record. And I'll move in a second to that effect, please. Thanks, Alan. Speaking to Ashley. All in favour? Right, there's no verbal update. So there's an actions list on page 11. That's a verbal update if I remember correctly. And it's to reschedule the workshop to the 2nd of June.
Done that.
Done that.
Just a one little point on page 8. You know, I'm born in Greymouth for most of my life. Here's West Point, Greymouth. I know there's a West Point in America, in the army.
Is it Westfleet, you think?
Yeah, I'm not puzzled where West Point is.
Thank you, Peter.
Could be a new place we don't know yet.
Yeah.
We have a notice of motion that from that the BT on the BT mining resource at Stockton, and that's been brought to us by Alan. But I'll just outline it briefly. On 14th of April, Councillor Birchfield submitted a notice of motion regarding BT mining resource consents at Stockton. Notice of motion is an attachment on page 9, 9.1, on page 10, I should say. Page 13 of our papers. Firstly, I'd like to invite Councillor Birchfield to speak to his motion and to provide any further information if he's got it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was worth a bit of a go. The whole rail system on the coast really depends on the Stockton mine. It's quite an important decision, and I think it really should come to us councillors rather than be left with staff. I think there is going to be a move to free up the consenting. The government is moving to free consenting up, and I thought we might just have a wee go here and see if we can get this turned over, because those consents for Stockton, they've been running now for how many years, Mark? 30, 40 years?
I think about 30.
38 years. 38 years. 38 years. Yeah.
They're pretty set in, and they've obviously worked. We don't seem to have many issues, so I don't really see any point in going through the whole process again, employing a heap of consultants and running through it all. So I thought I'll just run it past you guys, see if you support me to roll it over. I know there'll be 100 reasons why we can't do this, but I think that we should make the move.
There, if you, take this, please.
Yeah, we've had a look into the matter. One of the issues is that duration of consent is fixed at the time it's granted. And the Act expressly prevents changes to duration of consent through either variation or a consent review. So there's no mechanism in the Act to extend or renew an existing consent. So to continue an activity beyond expiry, a new consent application is required and a 124 will apply. So that means they can continue under their existing consents. But there's no ability for us to extend from a legal perspective without an order in council or something along those lines.
From who? Order in council from?
So that would be government, central government.
So what, do I need to change the term of the consent? Do I need to alter the motion? Would that help? See, I'm asking for 25 years.
Yeah, no, it's we can't extend along from what's there already under the RMA. There'd have to be a new application and we'd have to go through that process. Basically, there's options that could be done to deal with these sorts of things, but that would be through the planning framework, and that would be altering the classification of the activity or making it that there was essential rollover for certain consents, but that doesn't exist in our plan either. So that would have to go through that planning process.
At what stage is the RMA going to be changed?
We're waiting to hear back from the select committee later this month. There'll be national direction out in December.
Maybe.
Okay,
Well,
for councillors to have a say.
Well,
Yeah.
I support the underlying trust that Councillor Birchfield's trying to do. Backers is gone, so's Kiwi Rail. You put your proverbials on, it's done. So, yeah. And it just sends a flag, it sends a support to the industry up there in Westport. Goodness sake, how many more knocks is Westport going to have if we don't support it? You know, the RSA's gone now, it's like this, but you got all these other big ones that have left or leaving. We've got to be a bit more front footing some of these things that Wellington may take notice, they may not, they might give a hoot what the coast thinks. But yeah, I support what Councillor Birchfield's endeavouring to do.
Councillors,
Well, I'm obviously in favour too. If we can streamline it.
the problem that I see is it was granted under the Coal Mines Act.
Yep.
The Coal Mines Act finished there almost 40 years ago. So it's ultra vires. We can't do it under an act that's been repealed. The only parts of the RMA that they operate on under up on Stockton are the fresh air one and discharge to air and discharge to water. But anything else, like they can do drains, they can do shift their buildings, they can do roads, they can do all that thing under the Coal Mines Act because it's still current. The act itself is not current, but their permission to do it under the Coal Mines Act is. So.
Okay, then I'll ask this question. What can we do to assist?
Yeah, well,
Show support.
I see it is that it's because it's an act that's repealed. There's nothing much we can do unless it's central government makes a decision to actually invoke it, a bit like they did with the marine farms. It's a central government type of power. We don't have the ability to be able to do that. Well, but that, yeah, I think
Can I just, I'll come in here, councillors. Firstly, I personally understand exactly what your notice of motion is trying to do there, councillor Birchfield. And I think the commentary at this table is we understand what's at stake here for the economic prosperity of that district that relates to those consents, including all the ancillary matters such as rail lines and everything like that. So it's very, very real. And and have a deep empathy for what you're trying to do here. What staff is saying to councillors is what you're trying to do in terms of putting a notice of the motion to the staff to do something. We can't do that. It's not, we don't have the powers to do that. It's not lawful at the moment. What I would suggest you do, and I think this is your course of action, is, and again, it's a bit like the Marine Farms where they did it, is to write a letter from the councillors to various ministers advocating for the position that's in your notice of motion, Councillor Birchfield. And I think that's the course of action that you.
We made that an action point, then I'd definitely.
And I think if you want to change the motion, I think that might be a better way to word it, you know, to at least,
Support.
Yep, okay, I'll go with that.
Yep.
I threw it out there. Pretty easy going either way.
So if you move, is that a move?
Yeah, to what, if we can reword.
so a little bit of discussion on that, and
I support Alan's motion too. And we only need a change of government and that coal mine could be gone like that. And New Zealand's still gonna need coal for a while yet.
Well, it's not New Zealand, it's a week's.
Jackie,
In principle, yes, I support.
thank you.
so,
So we're going for a change of motion, is that correct? Is that it?
Yeah.
Have I interpreted that correctly? And the change of motion is that you want me to read it out? That's okay, sure.
yeah,
So what I've heard is the first resolution is the same, it's receive and consider the notice of motion and the advice provided by staff. What I think I just heard, just to test with council, was also to agree that council will write, as in councillors will write to relevant ministers to express their position on the matter. Does that capture, is that second one?
I think that's strong.
Or did I need to-
With
It's
a
not strong.
with a view to asking for the pending RMA changes
Yeah.
to allow for that.
Risk. There's only one word that really needs to be changed with a little bit of commentary. The West Coast Regional Council supports all the existing resource consents for Bathurst, et cetera, et cetera. We've reviewed, the securing the railway. Yeah.
well, that would do if we just change from rolls over to support.
Just putting our marker on the ground, what our position is. It's vital for our economy.
Well, there's an opportunity here, I think, under the transitional things going on in the transition between ags to extend similar to wastewater treatment plants and that, and then our new plans can incorporate how we might manage these things going forward as well.
Is it correct that all consents are automatically rolled over for another 2 years in the interim?
They will all get, unless they're addressing water issues, they can be extended past 35 years to the end of December 2028.
Okay, well, I'll change the motion slightly. I'll read it out. That the West Coast Regional Council supports all of the existing resource consents held by BT Mining for the operation of the Stockton coal mine for a further 25 years. Does that cover it?
Is that missing the point, that second point around what we're gonna do about it? The next step going to ministers and.
Yeah.
and things like that. That's the important part there around the rubber hits the road here, support or not. How can we have it, we can't do anything here legally, but they have the power to potentially do that.
And write to the ministers.
We've got to highlight the rest of the rail.
Well, the whole downstream.
We
we're trying to get
take full advantage of the transitional arrangements to the Crown Minerals Act too. That's really what Matt was, I think, indicating, which Matt.
Well, the
Transition,
transitions between RMA to the new RMA bills, replacement bills. So there's a lot of transition going on. So there's extension of consents.
Full advantage of that.
Because there'll be an expectation that our plans will come in to address that as well. So there may be a mechanism.
Yeah, so councillors, I think that the revised notice of motion with the addition of and right to the ministers expressing that view is the right thing to record. We've heard the commentary around emphasising rail and all the other things that you said. That's a matter for the letter, and let us capture that in the letter. I don't think we need to capture all that detail in the notice of motion. You've given us a clear direction around the flavour of the letter and what you want us to highlight. And what we should do is mirror this across into an action item, and that staff need to, within 2 weeks, develop a letter along the lines and have it back through council, lose or no. I don't think we can afford to wait for another 2 months.
Yeah.
2 weeks, and have that letter drafted back for councils for their review, with a view to send out from the chair up to Wellington.
Can I just make one more comment? And that was around the budget and KiwiRail. So obviously the government own KiwiRail, so they've got an invested interest there. And also they've put aside $1 billion for KiwiRail in the budget, so they are investing in rail. I'll leave it with you.
Okay,
So,
so I'll move the motion.
read the motion. Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Happy to
move the
second it.
motion. Yep.
Read the motion.
Oh, sorry.
Second it.
Let's hear the motion.
I've got the council support all of the existing resource consents held by Stockton for the next 25 years. And the resolution, council will write to ministers expressing that view regarding RMA and then an action item that won't be related to that is that staff are going to develop a letter within 2 weeks for review of council that's subject to that then be sent from the chair to the minister. That's captured it.
Do we need to include BT Mining resource consent at Stockton, not just at Stockton, for a little bit more clarity?
And again, probably another action is for me to just drop a line to Richard Tarkon, Chief Executive of Bathurst, just letting him know what was discussed today. So
Yep.
he knows and understands, and I'll take that action. Thanks, Chris.
Put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Yes. Harry? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10.1, we've got a hydrology quarterly report from Sharpie. The recommendation is that the committee resolved to receive the hydrology team update report and note continued delivery of hydrology network upgrades, successful flood response activities supporting regional flood preparedness, public safety and long-term monitoring capability. And I'll remove a second to that motion, please. Andy, it's open for discussion. Oh, no. Charlotte Shanti.
Oh, yeah, I can provide you with an update. So this is just our quarterly report, just providing councillors an overview of what we've been working on. As you are aware, the telemetry upgrade improvements project is underway, and we're addressing a lot of failures we're seeing in the Buller catchment with information on rainfall and river flow. So that includes changing all of our batteries and upgrading our SIMs to include satellite as redundancy, which is great. There have been new water level reporters added on the Mokahanui and Karamea rivers to support work by the area engineers and civil defence for their planning. We have also undertaken a hydrometric network review, so this helps us with planning for the LTP in the coming years. Where do we need to focus resources? Where do we need to expand the network? We will consider all of that information and bring that back to council as part of a future investment project. A lot of it will just be prioritising and phasing work, not potentially costing extra, but making sure that we're putting the resources in the right place. Site access improvements, just a continual focus on health and safety around hydrology. So just some sites there for you to have a look at. And of course, the Buller River at Te Kuha site vandalism, just making councillors aware that we've got continued problems happening there. We do have cameras on that site now, and we've got an anti-step box around our equipment. There's been quite a bit of a focus on community trust and engagement as signalled as a priority by councillors, including the Westport evacuation presentation, which Samuel presented at. We also did a field trip down in Hokitika in collaboration with Westland District Council, which was really good. Went to all of our sites and had a look at our infrastructure and worked on how we would collaborate better during flood events. Lastly, of course, there was a technical workshop and flood warning and response. We haven't actually seen too much flood warning response early this winter, which is great. We had one event early May and we just experienced a really minor event over the weekend, but we haven't had anything that's been significantly resource taxing, which is great for us. So we can keep on with business as usual work. And that's a bit of a summary. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
I hate to labour the point around the vandalism. I'm sure the matter's in the hands of the police and they're doing what they can with what we've got to give them.
Yes, yeah.
Have we got a metric on the cost for the repeated attacks on that site?
No, I don't, but it would be reasonably significant.
Yeah.
Probably around 10,000 mark.
And that's hitting the ratepayer and the property every time this happens to a 5-figure amount, yeah?
Some of it is insurable,
Yeah.
in terms of it's the staff time and things like that, that we don't have, we don't time sheets, so we don't have the exact cost, but that is a significant cost.
And we haven't seen anything, well, it's only been a month since this one, but we didn't see any more attacks in May.
No,
Nothing further from the police.
nothing.
That was my question. You haven't had to follow up
They've been really good, but they have limited information to deal with.
one way in, one way out.
I just wanted to acknowledge the hosting of that workshop, bringing any form of conference to the coast is great for the region's economy and great to showcase obviously we've got some interesting rivers for people to have a look at. So yeah, cool. Place.
Should put an electric fence around the chat.
10,000 kVA.
Peter?
I'll just make a comment, all for health and safety risk mitigations, site improvements. The steps there on the, where is it? Waipuna. But in saying that, and I don't want to be pedantic, but it's probably not a good idea to have an opposite photo. There's no harness arresters for a fall that would be greater than the steps with the jokers working on the bridge.
Oh, on the
Caramia? Yeah.
Karamea River Bridge.
You follow me?
Yeah.
Probably just.
I will look into that. I just.
Full traffic management in place.
Those in favour of that report being received? I think we had moved second. We're moving in a second for that quarter review, which I think we received. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Right. Those in favour? This one's on the natural hazard report, Shanti.
Sure. So a lot of this is covered in the public workshop that we had previously, which focused on the release of the Natural Hazards Portal. We've got a bit of summary of that in the report here, and the addition of Renee, who was in that workshop as well, to the Natural Hazards team, and the unfortunate loss of Sharon. Just some things that the team have been focusing on: the regional landslide modelling, which you're well aware of. A rural community resilience roadshow, which include 8 events across the coast to work in with farmers and help them with preparedness to natural hazards, which was reasonably successful there as well. Some school and community engagement over the past quarter, as well as involving ourselves in national conference and events to utilise sort of national research and leverage some of the work that other councils are doing. Still working on consistent LIM information across the TAs through the LIM working group that's been established. And there's a bit of information there on the National Climate Change Risk Assessment, which Councillor Birchfield had some questions on the workshop and Chris covered. Public inquiries, I thought this was reasonably interesting. So we get a lot of inquiries about natural hazards into the team. We are now quantifying those so we can see what the public is asking us about, what they're most interested in. You can see there the highest inquiries we're getting, obviously flooding, followed by coastal inundation and coastal erosion. We are seeing these inquiries reduce over time, and we think that due to our improvements of providing the information we've got publicly, we expect that to reduce over time even further, which will be great, reduce the administration on our behalf and let the technology do it for us. There's also some information about, with floods, what are they specifically asking us? A lot of it is just flood information. There's my risk areas, followed by finished floor levels as secondary highest request. And then just a bit of an overview of what we're working on next quarter, which is continuing work with the Waiho Technical Advisory Group and the higher resolution landslide susceptibility modelling. Getting ready for next year, so I mentioned Reefton will be something that we're focusing on for getting better flood risk information for that township.
Shanti? Any questions on Shanti's report?
Just a request, can we have the portal visit data in the next report? So we've got the emails from 23 to 26, the financial years effectively showing the emails that come in for those areas. Can we get some viewership on the numbers of people visiting which sites through that portal, just to see where that's going? And obviously, I assume that's going to go up as the emails come down.
I'm pretty sure we can get that. We do have flood events. We get, and it might just be visits to the website in general though. So I'll just have to check with the IT team and see how specific we can get to a particular page. But yeah.
Should be able to put on a page and things. There's some pretty cool hotspot and stuff they can do.
Sure, they do.
Thank you.
Oh, just going back to what Chris said about before about the generalisation of the schools evacuation and that. I think that needs to be individual for each school.
So that was, you'd like to see the teams working more with schools to support them with their response to natural hazards?
Yeah, Shanti, sort of, because each school's got a different situation.
Yeah, I went and visited Karura School recently, and just covered the things that we do as a regional council. And one thing they brought up was their concern over tsunami evacuation, even though they're out of the zone. But they were saying if it was an earthquake and we evacuated, would we be going into a landslide risk area? And I was said, yes, likely are going into. And so, yeah. So it's really important that we help them to provide the right things.
Like the southwestern area school in a tsunami, they might be running into trouble if they go for it.
Exactly.
And the tsunami's not going to affect.
So, sorry, I just want to re-emphasize on that last point. The first port of call for working with schools around civil defence matters is the district councils. Okay, so I just want to say that right up front, second one is, Monty, could you give the councillors a bit more of an insight into our collaboration with the district councils over statutory responsibility for local government to make sure that hazard information is finding its way onto LIMS, and how is that going with the district councils?
So that's going pretty well. We have a process that we've been following for a long time, which is we receive the information and we discharge it to them. And we've done a lot of catch up over the last couple of years, and we've got pretty much everything we've got there. And now it's a lot of it. It's an easier process. We've got less data to discharge. It's only as we collect it, which we don't collect very much. So that's still going well. They also have the ability to access the natural hazards portal. So they can do that whenever they like. And Chris and Renee are working on the LIM working group as well, which is about presenting that information in a consistent way. Because what we've seen is Grey, Buller and Westland all have the same information. We discharge it in the same way, but they're using that and presenting it to LIM holders differently. Be a bit of a problem if you own houses in multiple districts.
It's interesting that district council, there's lots of people with a bit of confusion about it because some of the fence is seen as coming really now from regional council in terms of the various people that are manning our civil defence headquarters, and they're never quite sure who would actually be the ones.
Joe, as the group manager responsible for civil defence, is there any comment you want to make here?
I can understand that there would be confusion because the people who do go out and do a lot of the engagement are the emergency management officers employed as the team, which is part of the board of group, which is under us.
Yeah.
However, they are actually going out there essentially on behalf of the district councils and should be working with the district councils as they go into any community engagement in a district.
So just remember the model with the EMOs, the emergency management officers.
Yeah.
We fund them,
Yeah.
but we give them to the districts
No,
to administer and to work to them. When it comes to group level activities, which is us, it's when we have to activate the ECC, that's us. And we also have work initiatives like developing the group plan, etc. But frontline working with communities in each of the districts is a function of the district councils. Okay.
I understand that. It's just that earthquakes are can be such a widespread thing that it's almost a regional bias in terms of and the advice, the long, strong, get gone thing. It seems to be almost
So what I'd say here is that, and it's written into the Act, we coordinate those activities and make sure that they're consistent, but the delivery of them is done by the districts. I think that's really important to understand because we are the roles and responsibilities, and there's been a specific paper on this from NEMA, National Emergency Management Authority officials, to the Joint Committee, and particularly the mayors, because there was some misunderstandings at a mayoral level about they thought that everything civil defence was just us, and it is not. Okay, they have to play their part. Yeah, and I'm very, very definitive about this. Okay, thank you.
Can we have a move in a second that the National Hazards Quarterly Report be received? Peter? Andy? All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried, thank you. Now, West Coast Water Quality Trends 2020. Shanti.
Sure, yeah, so this report follows the state of the environment water quality report that council received about 3 to 4 months ago. So it's a requirement for us to provide a state and trends within about a 5-year period. So this is a report covering 15 years of monitoring data between 2009 and 2024. It basically gives you an overview of any statistically significant trends across our monitored sites. And we've looked at land use data as well to help with the pressure state response format. So in the report there has been an identification that agricultural intensification was identified as the most widespread anthropogenic pressure influencing monitored waterways, and mining activity was also identified, which everyone is well aware of, particularly in relation to suspended sediment and clarity trends in waterways. I've just given, sort of 4 examples where we're declining trends across what we call multiple analytes simultaneously, indicating potential cumulative environmental pressure rather than isolated changes in a single water quality attribute. So those were the Vickers Creek, Whanaroa, Bradshaw Creek, Burks Creek, and Malloy Creek listed there. Also important to note that there are several examples of improving trends, particularly where we've seen improved nutrient management, such as some areas of Lake Brunner, or the Crooked River catchment in particular. So there's some positive news stories in there as well. I've just given you a bit of an overview of why this information is important and what we're planning on doing about it. I won't go too much over the technical report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I've got one, on clarity. How do you verify clarity and compare apples with apples there? Like clarity, it depends on could have seen in certain states in the river, for example. If the river's a rising river, the clarity might be different at the same stage height as if it was on a falling river or after a long fine spell. The clarity, how do you sort of separate out? So you're comparing Like
Yeah,
with
so I
black
guess
with light.
the importance, particularly with trends, but also with state as well, that we're not looking at any single point in time. We have to have a certain quantum of data to be able to make it statistically robust. Exactly. Yeah. So this is 15 years of data. So collecting the data consistently at a certain point in time, and then looking at that data set as a whole to try and remove any of those other variables that are not controllable necessarily. And then there's also continuous monitoring, which we can do with the sonde.
Consent and lake clarity would be quite relatively easy because relatively consistent because it's stable.
Less
where-
uncontrolled
yeah,
variables,
whereas
yeah.
a river could be, like if you pick, say, the first of the month for the last 15 years, first of the month this year, over at the Buller had a fresh in it, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas this time last year, it was after quite a long fire spell.
So as I've mentioned, we are undertaking the network review, which will help us answer some of those questions, making sure that what we're measuring is in the right place, and we are doing enough of different types of monitoring. So maybe we need to do more continuous monitoring, which can help us answer those questions.
Jackie? Andy?
I still can't see any monitoring of the effects of like geese and ducks and things.
We generally do fecal source contamination monitoring where we see E. coli issues. So if we've got E. coli issues showing significant declining trend, or it's an attribute based of something like an E, then we might do a more intensive study, which is when we bring in the fecal source. So we've done that in Orowaiti, for example. And so that can help identify if it's ruminant, if it's waterfowl, or if it's human. And where we have done that, we have found that ruminant and human sources were present, which can help us identify what is the pressure that's potentially causing that. We wouldn't generally do that. It's a little bit more costly and labour intensive if there isn't an E. coli issue, which in Southwestland Whataroa, that's potentially worth doing. We have seen, Vickers Creek, for example, we've got some really high, it is an attribute state of, I believe, E, and it's declining. So there is potential issues down there that we could look into in more depth.
Because it could be geese. There's big numbers of goose around.
Yeah.
Canadian geese.
Can you distinguish between ruminants and birds?
Waterfowl, yes.
Yeah, and between waterfowl types? No.
Don't believe so. But
Geese and ducks, no.
No, you can, if you get a fecal sample of the avian in question from the site.
Yeah.
And then you test and you can DNA.
Oh,
you could do eDNA, yeah.
Yeah.
With bucks then, I guess, yeah.
eDNA can be quite, but what are you trying to achieve? I guess
Well, you need to
Either
eradicate.
build up in geese or build up in duck.
there's probably cheaper ways of measuring.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alan.
It's all right. Everyone's trying to blame the farmers for everything, but we've now got a huge deer population. And it's, the dockland's full of them. Like we've got a herd living at the back of Crora at the moment, and people even crashing into them in their cars. So that would be having quite an effect on the sampling that you're doing.
So we could identify that through fecal source monitoring if that was something that councillors wanted us to look at in some of those areas where we're showing declining trends or
Increasing trends, yeah.
states, then we could do some more fecal source monitoring in those Southwestland areas. I think potentially do need to be looked at.
Andy?
Yeah, it would be good to take the odd test in like the headwaters or out of the boundaries of the farms and just to get an indication. And also like horses are a big source of nitrogen in water as well, So it's not all farming.
Yeah.
And our nitrogen problem's probably going to go away with this. More that's going on because I think it's going to double. The price of urea is going to double, so we see a big decrease in the use probably.
I would just say though, for example, that Whataroa site, Vickers Creek particularly, does have a problem with the E. coli, but it also has problem with dissolved reactive phosphorus, which generally, if you've got two of those, would indicate more of an agricultural issue.
Can we have a move in a second of that? Shanti's report be received. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Jackie. All in favour?
All right.
Against? Carried, thank you.
All right.
Now we're in what for Lake Fire Commission. Shanti again.
All right, yeah, so this one is just giving a summary of the annual lake work that we do, which helps us identify if there's any issues going on with the lake. They do this through assessing submerged plant indicators. We've got some pretty good results, like Ahoda and Lake Canary both assessed as being in high ecological condition, which is great. And we have some invasive aquatic species continuing to influence conditions such as Alodia and in several lakes. This is a report that we bring annually, so I'm not going to go into it too much detail, I'll just maybe to answer the questions.
How do you control the levers?
Once
Weed.
these weeds get into lakes, they're very, very difficult to get rid of.
But you said in one of the reports, I think you managed to
Yeah,
get
so they've got
it trending down.
Doc put in a cordon, so basically some it's spread vegetatively. So if they can reduce that vegetative spread,
Okay.
and that seems to be working. I believe that's an IND. Okay, yeah. So they're seeing some success in that. So if we catch the incursion very early and it hasn't spread, then you can kind of create
Like you,
cordons. And
like
stop
put
them.
like a fence thing around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go and see them down there. They're quite
Oh,
obvious. Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's like,
Yeah.
and the boats can only go out a little.
Oh, the channel.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Because I thought, oh God, it was a weed killer or what are they? And that's killed half of everything else, you know. But the I've never heard of that.
So yeah, the key for us is to stop them spreading between the lakes.
Catch it quickly. Yeah.
That's the main thing. Aim for the-
Alan?
Just a question, how's the study funded, Shanti?
So it's co-funded between DOC, the regional council and Manawa Energy put money into it as well, because lake weeds often impact hydroelectric systems. So about 50-50 between DOC and the regional council, and also supports some of our required work under the RMA as well. So it's co-funded between our biosecurity arm and our state of the environment monitoring arm. And then, yeah, the co-funding from Manawa Energy is about 10-15% of that, which is great.
Yeah, as you've heard me talk before, these lakes they don't belong to the ratepayers. So the ratepayers shouldn't really be paying too much towards this. But I'd also comment, I see you've changed the name of New Zealand to Aotearoa in your report.
No problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Andy?
Do we do the carp too or not?
That was one of the species that we've put in as a potential review in our RPMP. So that would be a biosecurity matter. And koi, I believe Emily's put that down as a potential exclusion species. Again, trying to make sure we don't have it established. Don't believe it's present in any lakes currently.
What, Doc might be doing it then, Shanti.
DOC do have a program, but it is important that we have layers in the RPMP to stop people breeding or keeping koi in private lakes, which then can be released into larger lakes.
What about colonisation society? Do they get mixed up in the rule?
Fish and game,
Fish and game.
very interested. Yeah, so we've done a lot of work with fish and game with the RPMP.
Because we did get asked if we let our goldfish get out. Apparently they're the same thing. Goldfish grow into the big carp,
It's a car.
but we didn't have any say.
We've moved in a second that Shanti's report be received. Jackie, thank you. See, all in favour?
All right.
Against? Thank you, Shanti. Matt, we'd like compliance monitoring quarterly report.
Okay, Lions monitoring quarterly reports, that's from January through to March, in March. There were 90 visits, 21 public complaints, so that's part of the pollution incident service. The team approved 30 work plans, and there are some bonds for release, 3 being recommended. So, the recommendation is that the committee receive the report, and approve the release of those.
Matt, can you confirm the dollar value for NZ Mills Limited? It's currently showing as hashtag. No dollar signs or numbers if we're going to move to prove that. So it's useful to know the quantum. Thank you. And whilst you're doing it just on the bonds as well, with the recommendation 0.2, can we in the future have release the bonds and then name the 3 that we're talking about? Just as please and thank you.
Any other questions on the compliance report? Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt, just in regard to page 106, the second one down was private. Regarding waste being dumped into the Hokitika River. What was the nature of that waste? Are you able to tell us?
Was household items and rubbish bags and things.
Right.
So
Okay.
essentially flight in.
Fly taxi, it sort of said into the river. But I had noticed, a bit of fly tipping going on, and I'm sure many locals did. So was it the same offender or?
Unable to be determined who it was.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was on page 12.
Yeah, but I just.
It just happens when the cell's too small.
Yeah.
It's not kisses then.
Not
Right.
So I want, do you think it's likely to decide if they will be bonus now, or should we
And make it.
just come back to it later in the meeting?
Yeah, because that's not
Let's
one
do
they
that, yeah.
released.
Yeah, let's do that.
Come back to it.
Yeah.
More discussion? We have a mover and a seconder that compliance monitoring quarterly report be received. Andy, thank you. Seconder?
Yep.
Thanks. Mark? All in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Yes.
Against, Peter's against.
So we just need to come back to
Easy rules.
that item, don't we? Page 112.
Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, if we could go on to some of the other papers, turn to this one.
Yep.
Next
Unless
one.
there's other questions.
Excellent. Presents quarterly report. It's recommended the council. Accounting. So the committee resolved to receive the.
The consents.
Yeah. I mean, sorry.
For January to March quarter, the consents team received 50 resource consent applications. Of the applications, practice 9 were returned as incomplete due to insufficient information regarding environmental impact. 6 were one withdrawn. In terms of decision making, 9 applications granted, 0 applications declined. Notable hearings included an application hearing in February for an applicant for a composting operation sub. The ongoing historical application review has successfully resolved 110 of 201 outstanding pre-2024 applications. Further withdrawal or final decisions, leaving 91 active applications those historical in the process. Under the Fast Track Approvals Act, consent staff successfully contributed to the Waitaha Hydro Scheme, which was officially granted in April. Under the Fast Track process, WCRC maintains an active advisory role, retaining the opportunity to provide formal feedback and nominate panel members for each project as stage transition to fast track process.
Open for discussion.
Look, I'm still getting complaints from miners and generally about the consents not being processed. And it's actually got to the stage, I'll make a bit of a statement here, I think it's going to start affecting our alluvial gold production because you're not getting the consents processed through for the miners. I do know one miner who's coming to the end and he's having trouble getting his consent. So I think this is going to start reflecting in our gold production. So we really need to step up, start getting these consents processed. The other issue I've got is that there's quite a few complaints about council staff coming onto the sites and not complying with the health and safety. And I believe that Minex may be coming to talk to the council. Is that correct? Daryl, can you confirm that?
Yes, the chief executive or executive officer or whatever it is of Minex is not coming. He's meeting with us online and that's booked in with staff.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. So that's my two concerns. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, the consents have been granted within the timeframes. There are many on hold waiting either further information or written approval on.
Yeah, I'm getting two different stories. Thank you.
Matt, the historic ones pre-2024, great to have 110 of them cleared up, either have gone through the decision or been withdrawn. The 91 is still at play. Is that 91 consent you're actively dealing with that are going to progress, or are we still getting back from something that they're going to pull out on?
They are complicated question, I suppose.
Otherwise
they've all been in contact. They've all been contacted. Some have been given deadlines to provide further information. Some are still seeking written approvals. The next process would be to, we haven't heard from the progression. Some of them were meant to get back to us because they were making a decision as to whether they want to continue or not. In those cases, if we haven't heard they want to continue, we'll start removing those from the system because they've had many follow-up issues. Otherwise, we'll be progressing to notification of outstanding written approvals or notification if information is not being provided to us.
Yeah, so we should see another good chunk of those in the next quarter.
Yes, we anticipate what we
appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to make sure that council is aware this is a massive legacy issue that goes back. I think the earliest one on that historical list went back to 2010 or 11 or something like that.
That was
7. Yeah. So these things have been on hold. You know, some of which for 20 years. With the applicants. So look, we're just trying to tidy all that up and say to them, do you want to progress this? Otherwise, we'll just return the application.
Any other discussion? We have a mover and a seconder that report be received.
Yeah, I'm happy to move it.
Right. Yeah. Ashley, all in favour? Yes. Carried, thank you. Now, the next one I found quite interesting was the West Coast Population Demographics Report.
just jump on that, the update for NZ Mills. 27,000.
27,000?
27,000 people.
Thank you.
So if you just get back to.
Yeah, we will actually.
On page,
So that resolution is, we're going to add the releases lines and actually name specifically
The total dollar value was just the request I had first.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was 26.
Okay, go forward.
Yeah, plus those two.
so now, are we back to the demographics report?
Yeah.
No, yes, now.
Decision to release.
Yeah, so you're gonna move for a second for that decision?
On the earlier,
Yeah. No, we don't have it yet.
You don't?
Well, we did retrospectively, but
No, could we have a fresh mover and a seconder on that? please?
Or which one?
For page 112, because we know the dollar figure now.
The release of the bonds.
Releasing the bonds.
Yep, and that top one there at hash, whatever it is 27,000 plus 70. 38. So we happy to move that?
Thank you, Mark.
I'll second.
Andy seconded it. All in favour? Aye. You were against it. Thank you. Moving on to the demographics report from Matt.
So the report outlines population, demographic, employment and economic trends on the West Coast, highlighting the region's slow but steady growth and ongoing socioeconomic changes. Since 2016, the West Coast population has increased by 1,800 people, 5.5% to 34,700, making it New Zealand's slowest growing region over that period. Growth has been strongest in Western District, followed by Grey, while Buller has grown least. The population is ageing with relatively high numbers of older residents and fewer people aged 20 to 30 in the Buller district. Wage and income growth have lagged behind national trends, and GDP per capita growth has also been modest overall, with Buller experiencing a decline, while Grey and especially Western important increases. Employment patterns vary across the region, with mining and prime industries more prominent in Buller, service industries in Grey, and tourism.
Yeah, and I found some interesting stuff. After post flood, after 2021 flood, we had one of the highest per capita growth. Yeah. If you look at 2022 on page 135,
Yeah.
we did extremely well there. There's a silver lining in every cloud. And the 2016 one on page 131, that minus percent comparison between regions coincided with the closure of Holston, which is an interesting time for Westport. Any other discussion on it?
Fascinating to see 2 in every 3 people on the coast deemed to be high dependency, they're under 14 or 65 plus. Yeah. 3 and 4 in the Buller versus 1 and 2 in New Zealand, but that's a significant
Comparison, isn't it? Yeah.
imposition it puts upon when you're looking at ratepayer basis and everything else, as well as, I guess, stress on healthcare. Not that that's a fundamental concern of this organisation, but it's a one fair price.
What I found was that more people were employed at Grey Hospital than at Stockton. Yeah, like Grey Hospital is one of the biggest employer of people in Grey and on the West Coast.
Is that more than Stockton, did you say?
More than Stockton. Yep. Grey Hospital. I kept reading and reading that there's some real. This is a very through, and I thought it was all doom and gloom for a while, but there's actually some quite good stuff in there, because our average house price is 380,000 or something compared to 830 odd thousand in Auckland. Well, that's in a way why the GDP, we can survive on a relatively low GDP compared to so yeah.
That does neutralise quite a lot of the income
Beg your pardon?
issues, the cost of living here.
Yeah. So it's West Coast has still got some huge advantages.
Especially when you're going through the deer in your backyard.
Paper per hour. Yeah.
So this information will feed into our spatial work that's coming up.
I found it a really valuable document, and there's some really useful tables and comparisons. Any more discussion on it?
I just give credit to Doug, it's taken a long time. Right, it's taken a lot of work put in, so credit where it's due.
Based on no more discussion, can I have a move and a second that Matt's report be received?
I'll move the report. I'll move the report. Thank you.
Move the report. Second. Ashley, all in favour? Yeah. Gary? Special planning, reform report, that is.
Just a bit of a further update on the spatial planning and RMA reform. This report outlines the implications for the RMA reforms, particularly establish a new spatial planning committee and to prepare a regional spatial plan. The committee will bring together local government, central government, and EGLE with the West Coast Existing PPP Joint Committee identified as a likely foundation. However, it needs to be reconstituted to meet new statutory requirements. Draft plan is expected by late 2027, meaning governance funding and prep work needs to be established quickly, initially rely on existing plans and mapping, while national direction continues to emerge. The new system will introduce hierarchy of plans, a strategic GIS-based regional spatial plan, which needs to identify growth infrastructure and environmental constraints, supported by regulatory land use plans, district control and natural environment plans, which currently sits with us as covering environmental limits and resource management rules. Staff are already reviewing existing regional plans, maps for integration into a unified spatial framework. And key challenges include adapting existing regional plans and policy statements to fit the new plan structure, and especially the tight statutory timeframes that have been proposed. So some challenges for the planning team.
Thank you, Matt. Discussion, Ashley?
Reconstituting the TTPP committee, what sort of complexities come with that, given it's currently in council, as opposed to just being a committee of council, which you could even do that.
So the proposal would be that we use that same committee to go across and form basis for that, seeing as there's already appropriate representatives across the region. But it will have to be a new committee.
So just existing membership different. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I wonder if I can comment on that. You're 100% right, councillor. The TTPP Joint Committee is formally established by Northern Council. So when it's considering TTPP, it does so under that order in council, but just logistically and for efficiency purposes, on the same day at the same meeting, they then swap hats and then start a new meeting, i.e. the statutory spatial planning committee with a government appointee on it, right? Because that's a requirement, and then consider the spatial plan. And on that matter, I just want to say, councillors, that the spatial plan is an additional piece of requirement likely to emanate from the new RMA replacement acts heading through the House at the moment for decision. The spatial plan does not replace the TTPP. In fact, it relies on its existence. Okay, so we were still right in doing the TTPP because the spatial plan sits over the top of that. But it is a new piece of work that is required to be done by all regions across New Zealand. And I am meeting with the chief executives of the different councils on Wednesday. And what I need to point out is that unlike the TTPP, where the order in council required this council to pay for the TTPP and all of its costs, and we know where that's sitting, and I'll just ask Matt to confirm this, there isn't a requirement that the regional council solely pays for the spatial plan. Is that correct?
No, the requirement is that the funding is sorted out between the districts and regional councils.
Luckily enough. Crystal balling, is that plan going to be half the expense of the TPPP? Is it going to be the same as the TTPP? Do we have any form of?
It does go through a truncated Schedule 1 process. So it's got to go through all that consultation, submissions and hearings and all those sorts of things. And every time you enter into a plan process like that, you do measure the multiples in $500,000 worth. Just depends how many multiples of 500 you're talking about.
Yeah, there are quite strict timeframes, which probably assist in keeping the cost down. And additionally, TTPP has done a lot of the spatial GIS work, so strong basis for bringing that across. So leveraging
That basis should be already there.
But you're exactly right, Mr. Chairman. A lot of the existing consistent regional scale mapping exercises in GPP just come straight into spatial planning. But there are other ones that it requires that are not there, which the councils will have to commission and do.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, can I have a move and a second that the spatial planning and RMA update be received? Thank you, Jackie. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Final one for, if we can do this for lunch and then we have to
Lunch is ready, but I think we were going to finish up.
finish off with.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is on the environmental side. It's recommended that the committee resolve to receive the environmental quality quarterly report and note the key findings of the report, including achieving the recreational water quality outcomes, ongoing air quality compliance monitoring and participation in nationally funded freshwater monitoring program. Shaki?
Thank you. So this is again just our quarterly report, highlighting that we've started moving into the air quality monitoring season with the gazetted airshed up in Reefton, and we're also continuing not to monitor Greymouth, no longer monitoring Westport because we no longer have particular matter concerns there. Bit of an overview on what we're doing in Westport with some new machines there as well, which is great. One of those sites is at the Greymouth High School, and we're looking at the other site being the RSA. Just working through final permission for getting that one done. We've got an overview there of the recreational water quality monitoring, which collects the E. coli samples. We are now monitoring those weekly, which is the required national standard. Only 10 sites, or 2.4% of samples, exceeded the safe swimming threshold for E. coli, and those are listed there on page 169 of your papers. There's a bit of information there again on Morowaiti Lagoon. As I mentioned in the trends report, this is somewhere that we have done that fecal course tracing, which does indicate that the E. coli that we are getting there does generate from both human, ruminant, and a small proportion of waterfowl, but not a significant amount there. There's some information there on our surface water quality monitoring, just noting that elevated sediment, bacterial contamination, and some nutrient concentrations, as you saw in the trends report, continue to be an issue in some of our modified catchments. Our lake monitoring is all going well. Both Lake Hopiri and Lake Brunner remain in pretty good condition with no concerns there. We're doing some work with community engagement, working with farmers for wellhead protection to protect our groundwater quality. There's been some work with some schools as well, just some photos there for your reference, and some information on how we're engaging with the community on social media for your reference there as well. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I've got one. The site where you've got your air quality monitoring in Greymouth.
Yeah.
It's right in the worst possible place. You've got some of those houses there could be up to 150 years old. They've got old chimneys. You're in against the hill where there's no breeze. It's possibly the worst place you could go. Now, if you're going to extrapolate that test out for Greymouth, that is totally not correct. And I know you say that you have to put them in the worst places, but I will never accept the results that you come up with there because it doesn't reflect the air quality in Greymouth. It's the same in Reefton when we had the discussion there back maybe 20 years ago when we set the monitors up. The locals said it's in the worst place. It's downstream from some source. And later on, the excuse was we can't move it by law, but eventually that site was sold and had to move it. And overnight that fixed Reefton's water quality, air quality. So all this air quality monitoring, I'm very skeptical of it. Basically behind it all, I think you've got people who don't want us to be burning wood or coal. They want us to go fully electric. And I think that the system is being manipulated with to make the rules, to make you test in the worst place. That's not correct. So thank you.
Peter?
Yeah, I'll just add to that, 20+ years ago, Alan, we, in Reefton, you're quite correct. And once that site was shifted to where it went to, we conformed with it, and it conforms repeatedly, but then government or science in Wellington decided to drop the particulate to make it fail, and it failed. So they're screwing the scrum. We get it, we get the good results, we get progress, a bit like the mobility costs were so successful, they dropped the subsidy. Now people are getting, they're manipulating the score sheet.
So it'd be good to keep an eye on what they're doing, because they are looking at reviewing the national policy statement for air quality, but from the indications I'm getting is it's going to be more stringent, potentially not less. So at the moment, we're required to monitor particulate matter to the 0.10, but the 2.5 is not a standard. And if they did lower it to requirements of 2.5, we would fail in all our issues. And that is the standard of monitoring in Australia, which they potentially could follow. So it's worth considering that. And at the moment, we just follow national direction on this.
Well, that's precisely,
We have the ability to submit.
precisely my point. And most 95% of Australia is considerably warmer than what we are here.
Andy?
Does it define what sort of particles are? Because I see sea spray is coming, and also what about dust storms like that we can't do anything about?
Yeah, so this continuous monitoring doesn't do that, but we do. That's what we did up in Westport. We did that analysis, which did identify a lot of that particular matter was both salt and dust, as opposed to the coal. Whereas the studies we've done in Reefton show that coal is a large proportion of the particular matter. We could potentially do a similar study in Greymouth if we find there's a problem, but if there's no problem, there's no point in doing it.
Based on what the members to the left have said, we might not want this testing anyway, but I assume we cycle it around. We've done Reefton, we've done Westport, we've done Grey. Western might get a turn at some stage.
Yeah, so we start off at a real base level, which is spatial.
Yeah.
And that goes, there's really coarse, and it goes, is there an issue here? We've done that down in Hokitika. And that initial monitoring down in Hokitika suggested there's unlikely to be a problem here. Westport and Greymouth, that spatial monitoring said there might be a problem here. Then we moved to continuous monitoring. If continuous monitoring says, yes, there is an issue, then we would go to what is the particulate matter? Is it coal? Is it sea salt? Is it dust? Can we manage it? If it is identified as something we manage, then we potentially would have to give that an air sheet, which requires us to continuously monitor and input that into potentially our air plan and find some rules to reduce those air quality issues over time.
Appreciate that. I just wanted to acknowledge recreational water testing. 1/7 of the negative tests of the national average. I think that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Things fail for various different reasons, but to have only 2.4% testing fail over summer at the contact recreational spots is really impressive. And 1/7 of the average fail rate of the country, which means some places have got a whole lot worse than that.
Agreed. Andy?
And a lot of that is caused by heavy rain, isn't it? As well.
Yeah, and that's why we provide that rainfall information there, just to give context to the results, because quite often timing is very.
Yeah, I think New Zealand's air quality is about the top third in the world. And humans did evolve to breathe in a bit of dust. Like we grew up in caves originally, so I'm quite sure.
Some of them are still there, I think.
I'm quite sure we can handle a bit of dust. But I think it's been overrated, this problem. I think it's been blown out of all proportion. Thank you.
No more discussion. Can I have a move in a second that Shanti's report be received? Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Ashley. All in favour?
All right.
Aye. Carried. Against? Carried. Yeah,
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Do we have to address 10.8.1? No, just planning report.
That was,
It is spatial planning, but we didn't do planning report.
that was an attachment to the.
Yeah, but it's also, that wasn't read out, was it?
That's carried over from previous meeting.
Yeah, that was the previous.
There's an appendix to
So it was just an
report.
appendix, to make sure you had the information.
Okay, so you didn't have to move it?
No.
No, cool, thank you.
I'd like to move that after this meeting. Come back.
I'll second that.
Alan?
Yeah.
Again? Do we have to remove a second to go into pub?
We just.
Public excluded. where-
How's that third
Just
person?
moved.
How's that third person?
Thank you.
Go again, get the report. We're finished. We're going into
Council.
council meeting.
Okay, no further business. I'll run through the meeting. Please. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Online and staff and councillors are here. Apologies, I've got one apology, Colin Smith, I'll move, I've got a seconder.
Yep.
Alan, seconder, thank you, all in favour? All right. Declarations of interest, there are none. Public forums, deputations, there are none. Late items, are there any late items? There are none. Confirmation of the minutes. Confirmation of the minutes on May the 5th. Are there any adjustments to the minutes? Everyone's had a chance to read the minutes. Andy?
I wasn't taught class at English, but on page 19,
Yep.
second paragraph, it should have it in, I think, in the change.
What page 19, Andy, is it?
Second paragraph from Bob.
Yep.
Bring about reorganisation would require significant change. Should be in there, shouldn't it?
No,
No.
Councillor Campbell, change management is like a term to describe how you support the organisation through change.
So you can stay at the bottom of the class.
In. That's all right.
Yeah. So we'll also read that out, 19 May extraordinary council meeting minutes too, as well. Are there any amendments to those? Any amendments? All right, can I have a move for those minutes, please? Ashley, seconded Chris, all in favour? Move. Actions list. There is one action. Action 1. A letter to be signed by the chair to provide each of the 4 rating district joint committees, notifying them resolution to contribute $1 million each for flood protection.
So I can speak to that action, Mr. Chairman. It was decided, instead of writing a letter to each of the chairs, that we're convening a meeting, or at the next meeting of each of the joint committees, we're doing it via a proper joint committee paper. And at the moment, we've got Franz booked in, we've got Westport booked in, and Gray, I think, booked in, and we're just still needing to book in Cogswell.
Excellent. Any questions on that?
In the meantime, the local media have clearly got the message out there to everyone anyway, so
Yeah.
their job's done.
Yep. Okay, if that's the case, can I have a mover for that, please? Action list. Alan, Ticketer, Andy, all in favour? Chair's report. Isn't one? So we go on to 9 reports, 9.1. So Joe.
Thank Thank you. Good afternoon, councillors. This paper is kind of the next step in the simplifying local government work that we've done. Previously, you've approved us putting in a submission. Then in early May, the government came out with a Head Start process that they are allowing us to be a part of. The Head Start process requires 2 or more councils to submit a proposal which outlines how they're going to go about seeking reform of local government. These are due on the 9th of August. So the Mayors, Chairs and iwi Forum have already made the decision that they would like to proceed with the Head Start proposal, and this paper is seeking your endorsement of that decision to go ahead and try and get onto the Head Start pathway. It also notes that the Mayors, Chairs and iwi Forum is running as governance of this project, and Ashley Stewart is going to be the project manager for the local government reform work here on the coast. And they're proposing to extend the governance to include the deputy mayors and the deputy chair. So there will be an invitation put out for the deputies to be a part of the governance of this project to allow more people to be involved. So essentially that's the other part of this is just for you to note that an invitation will be going to Councillor McIntyre as the deputy to be involved on the governance of this project.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Any discussion on that report?
If the report and paper Great District Council support it, we're about to vote on it. Have we got the positions of the wider councils for Westland or Buller?
I'm pretty sure Buller has already made the decision to support it. And I'm not sure if Westland have done theirs yet, but I do know that their mayor supports the proposal to do it.
So it's pretty much unanimous. Okay, thank you.
I'm expecting it to be.
Thank you. Very good. Oh, Alan?
On the paper that you circulated when this came up, it actually said in one paragraph that regional councils aren't permitted to submit onto this program.
That's true.
Yeah.
It does say that, but we are able to work with the other councils for the good of the community and for the region to aim to help progress the conversation around what a new form of government would look like.
Yeah,
So
not allowed to vote.
we're not allowed to be on the proposal.
So how do you work that? Is it just within the Mayors, Chairs and iwi, is it?
Well, no, we'll continue to support the work that's happening and the engagement that's happening across the country.
So, Mr. Chairman, we're part of the work. We're actually been explicitly invited by the 3 mayors and iwi to be at the table and to contribute actively at the table. But when it comes to submitting the proposal to government, the only signatories allowed will be the 3 mayors.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Any more discussion on that report? No. Can I have a move for that report, please? Ashley, move. Second, Alan. All in favour? Unanimous. Okay. Report 9.2. Colin. Step up, my son.
I'll just start by, this is one of, with a long-term plan, it's, as SLT and as a local people, the managers who started the long-term process in the 27th year. And Karen, you've all met now, has done a huge amount of work on it. I'll hand over to Karen to take us through it.
Good afternoon. We will be expecting Fiona Farrar to join as well. So she's part of the LTP team.
She in the waiting room?
She should be joining us.
Great. So Fiona, I've just introduced that you will be joining us. So, and normally we will also have Teresa. So that's the group of us that are working together. Right, so what I've put before you in the papers is the endorsement of some procedural documents for the long-term plan, and explained that we are going to continue to table things to you throughout the process of putting together the long-term plan for your direction and progressive endorsement of the direction we go. So I just want to start with some context about proceeding with the long-term plan. It's in the report that councils have received formal advice from government that irrespective of the local government form that LTPs processes should proceed across the country. So all councils, district and region are proceeding with their long-term plans. So therefore, the initial set of procedural documents that I've provided to you for your endorsement is number one, a decision-making plan, number two, an environmental scan, and three, some draft significant forecasting assumptions. And then I've explained it's best practice to develop these three items in the initial stages of developing the long-term plan. So the decision-making plan, I'd like you to look at table 1, attachment. So the front page explains how we will go about decisions as a standard template. What I've attached is table 1 is the key touch points, we'll call it, with elected members. We're coming back to council, we'll be coming back to you. We've scheduled all these into the council meeting schedule. So there'll be at least this many touch points, and they are described as either meetings and or workshops. You can see the decision-making points and the direction-seeking points right down here, ahead of the page. And you'll note that down the side is an arrow which gives an indication of when we'll be out engaging with the public about different matters. So it'll be throughout time from, it'll probably be a little bit later than June, but I'll put it there just in case we can go at any stage, but it'll be right through till the end of December when we'll be out talking to the public about long-term plan matters.
So you're talking December 20?
This year.
With this over here, what Karen's already done is it's a very much a stepped progressive process. And having this clear timeline will keep us as a council and as an organisation true to task. And by doing it in this progressive way, we'll develop it, we'll come up with a far better long-term plan. Okay.
So there's another version for staff, our inputs, and there's a nice long table that I'm using myself as well. But this is the same information, but just picking out the touch points for council. There may be additional meetings required, and you will direct that to us as we come to you. If you're not sure about making a decision at a certain point, or you want things to go different directions, that we will follow that. But this is the best we can do at the moment to set it forward. And then on the back of that, part of the decision-making plan, it's another thing is the best practice is to lay out who's responsible for your long-term plan for each council, and it's got the whole team. The piece in the middle that's highlighted is the bit that I just drew to your attention, myself, Colin, Fiona and Teresa. So any questions on the decision-making plan?
The meeting we've got on the 24th, is it?
23rd.
23rd. Now, what's that? Is that to accept the plan?
No, today is to get your endorsement on that plan.
Okay.
I'll clarify, thanks. The 23rd of June is the adoption of the annual plan for the next year.
Yep.
LTP is for the 10 years from 1 July 2027.
Yeah.
So we've got to start work on it now to adopt it by next 30 June.
12 months away.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, different plans. Yeah.
Good.
And just while I'm at it, you will also be asked later in October to adopt the annual report for audit purposes before the 31st of October this year. So you've got your annual plan for next year, annual report for this year, and then your LTP for the following 10 years.
Okay.
Busy time.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll be at the table alternating between those items. So the next.
Can I just ask one question before you move on to that with the LTP? How does that look in a unitary?
Probably, I can say it right, because I've seen them before, but like it will look when we do amalgamate. So you're looking at both functions, you're looking at your regional functions and your district council functions in the same thing.
Exactly, so it's not going to vary much.
Well, you need to make sure they align and put them together in the right areas and make some efficiencies for how you land, what you hope to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no dramatic change.
Well, it depends, because it'll be a new entity for us,
That's right.
It'd be,
new leadership.
there'd be 6 or 7 templates from unitaries around the country, they could probably take some learnings from as well.
And there might be a new one that gets introduced.
Could be a broad brush one, instructed from above.
It could be, or we are trying to lead it ourselves, so it could be something we suggest, that you suggest going forward.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's the decision-making plan. The second one is the environmental scan. It's been developed with the senior leadership team of council, so with management. It assesses the current external factors, so that's external factors, not internal, that can impact on an organisation's planning. And it just really asks for writing our LTP, so we're not just looking at a bubble of what's happening just here on the West Coast, and we're looking at what a number of things that can affect. And I'm sorry, it's quite a large document. I meant to put this on PDF, just small, but it's coming out big anyway. But it's just an exercise that we do, and we did the LTP in 2 quick sessions about political factors, environmental factors, economic factors, etc., social factors that will influence us. It's very relevant, and we come back to it as we're going through the long-term plan to assure ourselves that we have looked at these type of things as we go. We do a checklist at the end. So is there any questions about the environmental scan?
All the risks are sort of there too, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just we can do it in whatever form. We've just chosen to do it. It's called a pedestal. That's the political, etc.
Yeah.
And then we've just done a quick strengths, weakness, SWOT analysis as well, because it's quite easy to read that one. But it's the same.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. Is there any questions on that report?
Just on the third part, are you going to go over third appendix as well?
The forecasting.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, if you're okay with the.
Yep.
Okay. So third document. Significant forecasting assumptions. Now, this is the one at the beginning of our endorsement and/or adoption. This is a draft that's in front of you today. So in the recommendation, I suggested that we're seeking your endorsement, but we will come back to you on this for adoption, because this must be adopted as we go along.
So this will, sorry to cut in, so this won't be when we have a movement seconded, this will be excluded from that, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm asking you to endorse it at this stage.
Endorse it?
Agree?
Yep. Okay. Yep. No,
But you will see this again. So this is in draft. You'll see the next iteration will probably still be draft, and the final iteration we'll ask you to adopt.
Okay.
Because then we'll have more input from it. So we're not suggesting today that you give us heavy input, but you just see how we're going. But even in today's workshop this afternoon, the input that you provide will go into this document. So that's why I've tabled it as a draft. Okay. So yeah, so it's really important that the council electors contribute towards this document. We get your direction in it, and you have help. I've just crafted the starting point of it, but it's difficult to adopt a final set of assumptions when you haven't worked your way through your main strategic goals and your main priorities, etc. So, turning to the document itself, the second chunk under the line, it starts with the overarching assumptions to be used in preparing the long-term plan. Those will, I hope, remain the same. So I'll draw your attention to those when we go through this in the future. it's really important that those first overarching assumptions are rock solid. And at the moment, we've got about assuming population growth will stable, economic growth, how it fluctuates on the coast. The rating base is likely in the short term to remain stable, and that we've mentioned the local government report. So those are the key things that we need to ensure that everyone agrees on when we are adopted. Then the others are other assumptions that will be factored in, and there's a table there that you can see is very much in draft form on purpose, because we don't have the answers for all of those things at the moment. There's a bit of work to that.
It's really giving them the direction of travel and bringing you along the journey as we go through the long-term plan 12-month exercise in itself. Looking at the population assumptions that Karen took us through, the paper we had this morning really supports our assumptions here. So that's, you use that as a source. Check.
Questions on?
I'm really just around the rate stability piece. Obviously, high level of uncertainty garnered in a piece of legislation by the government of 2 to 4% will be challenging, but what we can do.
Yes, what we've thrown that in on page 3, the rate stability there. Yeah, the risk is books wouldn't be set at 4% cap, that may exceed that.
And that's just the population budget. Through the, yep.
Through the chair, it's an issue I raised previously, and it's about sailing close to the wind to the next tier level for audit purposes. We're below that now, but we're very close to going into the next level. Now, what materially impacts upon that is our expenditure. And I asked specifically for a line on an assumption, because it is an assumption, what are our legal costs based on the previous year, and what are they now up to date? Because it's all very well taking legal action against someone and you get 40 or 50,000 back, but it costs you 220 to take the prosecution. So that invisible money's got to come from somewhere. It doesn't grow on a tomato plant, and that could be quite substantial. And we only need several $100,000, and we're into the next tier level for audit. That's a difference from 80,000, 100,000 to $250,000 for an audit. So I asked for that line to be visible because we don't know what we don't know. And it's part of our role to have fiscal oversight and focus on where we're at and where potentially we're going to be. Because we don't know it. There's no line in it. We never hear of it. It's an operational issue. I know, as it's been said around this table today, but the actual fiscal cost is one of our responsibilities. We've got to have visibility on it.
So on that, on the assumption of the tiers, we'll form it as part of our assumption to come back. Come forward. On the legal costs, I can provide the information.
There's a line in the document.
Can keep it come through the finances so we can put it out in the financial when we get to that stage, what our legal costs will be. But
there'll be
assumptions.
Quantum on that will be a projection, of course, based on historical quantum.
That's right.
So, you know, it's a small community. We all get people ringing us and telling us how much it's cost for this and that. So we've got a rough idea without actually seeing the figure. So is the community. But we, as a statutory function, we've got to know what official costs are, because that's part of our role.
Any more questions on this report?
Mr. Chairman, can I just query on that? So, council and staff have a requirement at times, and we try and not do it because of the cost, to take legal advice on a plethora of matters right across the width and breadth of council business on any given year. Are you, Councillor Ewan, solely talking about legal costs associated with prosecutions rather than all of our business?
Well, the legal costs should be easy to identify. It's one line. That's legal costs are legal costs. Doesn't matter what it's for. It is a cost. It's no good.
So the answer is yes, you want to know all of our legal costs, not just prosecutions.
Let's, yes, yeah, that's part of the quantum, surely.
So the answer is yes?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to get it really clear, councillor, thanks.
Well, shouldn't we have that as part of our role?
No, I'm not disputing that, I'm just clarifying what information you're requesting.
It could be substantial.
Yes.
You know, so, and if we're ignorant to the fact we could go into the next tier,
I'm hearing
that's,
that, councillor.
that's what I'm
What
thinking.
you're saying is you want all legal costs, and that's cool, that's, thanks. Yeah, because I did hear prosecution costs.
It's part of the legal costs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other? Comment? Discussion? Okay, so it's a recommendation, decision for 1 and 2. And remembering that bullet point 3 is only a draft at this stage. And if you go onto page 26, that table, that's what we're looking at moving today. So it's a strategic framework. So there's a lot more workshops to go yet. So we're not making any finite decisions today as such. It's basically that's stage 1 there, LTP approach. Is that all right? Sort of assumption of what we should be moving, shouldn't be moving?
Correct.
Can I have a mover, please?
Just to clarify.
Oh, sorry.
We've got only a few weeks to the date we have the meeting. We can't be having too many workshops, surely plural.
No. This is the LTP, not the annual plan.
Yeah.
That's what I said, didn't I? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's, if you go onto page 26, this is how I understand it, the easiest on that table. Yeah. And basically what we're looking at is where we are today.
The LTP procedural approach.
Yep. Can I please have a mover? Chris, second, Ellen. All in favour? Unanimous. Right, we're going to move into public excluded. Time's 26.5 past 1. Can I have a mover, please?
Yep.
Seconder, Andy, thanks. Meeting closed, the public excluded. We have nothing to report on the meeting. I declare the meeting closed at 1:33. 34, sorry. Thank you all. Bye. Oh, now workshops, isn't it? Yes.
I'm going to do my messages.